My name is David Cox. I'm the Managing Director of Fragrances of Ireland. That's my privilege and have been doing so for over 30 years now.
So tell us about the company story. Where did it all begin?
Well, it began with a kitchen table conversation between my father and my uncle, Brian and Donald, who were both interested in scent but both had other jobs way back in the early 1980s. They'd always been interested in smells, perfumes, and were intrigued by the fact that there was nobody that they knew of in Ireland really doing it very well at the time. So they decided to start an Irish perfume company, as one does. And I remember it over the kitchen table because I would have been about in my early 20s then, and then the thing was very much a local homemade type of business at that stage. Samples were brought home and discussed, and everyone smelt them and said what they thought of them, and it was interesting. I mean, it was a very entrepreneurial thing for both of them to do because they both had other jobs.
And did you always know then that you wanted to get involved with the family business?
There was a job going then because the business had grown quite a bit. So, and they were both working at it only part-time because, as I said, they had businesses of their own to do.
What were some of the key milestones throughout the years? Like, what was the first fragrance and when did it start to really pick up?
The idea for the company was to produce perfumes that reflected the beauty and magic of Ireland. And so they started with a perfume called Inish, which is a beautiful lake in the west of Ireland, but made particularly famous by a poem by Ireland's Nobel Prize-winning poet W.B. Yeats, The Lake Isle of Inish, which every Irish person will know. But that was a women's perfume, and that was followed by Patrick, which was a man's perfume. Again, Patrick needs no introduction, Ireland's patron saint.
So tell us how Inish, the Energy of the Sea, came to life.
We wanted to produce a fragrance that smelt like a summer's day by the sea, and once we decided to do that, that was fairly easy to write down, but we had to go through quite a lot of difficulty to get the fragrance to come into existence. We gave the brief, which was a longer version of just that, a page explaining what we meant by a summer's day by the sea, but our perfumer, who's a lovely English perfumer called Arthur, couldn't get his inspiration, and he rang me up after a few days to say that he was sitting at his desk and he didn't know where to start, basically. So we flew him to the west of Ireland to a beautiful, beautiful beach that had been my favourite for many years before because we used to go on holidays there. And as luck would have it, it was a beautiful day in the west of Ireland, and having walked Arthur up and down the beach for a few hours, he turned to me and said, "I've got my inspiration, I know what we're going to do." The word Inish is an Irish word in Gaelic which means island, and that obviously is a very strong metaphor for Ireland itself, which is a small island. But Ireland is surrounded by sea, it's surrounded by beautiful, beautiful beaches, and we felt that this was a side of Ireland that we'd really like to represent. Ireland is full of energy. Clouds are always scudding across the sky, there's always a breeze, so walking by the beach and walking along the shore is something that's always a pleasure to do, and we felt that the happiness of doing that was something we wanted to capture in a bottle. The inspiration for Inish was, as I say, a walk on a beach on a summer's day in Ireland, and it was important to us to achieve that, but to achieve it not in a strict perfumery way, but we wanted really to produce something that made people as happy as they are on their summer holidays by a beach. That was the important thing for us, that this wasn't going to be a perfume which made you feel chic or sexy or anything that a lot of the, continental European or British or American perfume houses do. There's plenty of people doing that, and that's not very Irish. I think the important thing about doing an Irish perfume is something that is much more friendly, much more universal, and in short, something that would just make people happy. And that was very important for us. So it became unisex. In fact, when we initially started, we didn't know whether it was going to be for women or for men, but it became unisex because it was so fresh and so easy and so happy and simple a scent to wear. And you can see that now when you look at all the reviews that we get on websites and letters we get the old-fashioned way, and people really appreciate that it is a perfume that is not complicated for them. They just wear it and it makes them feel happy and it cheers them up. It gives them a bit of summer zest in the middle of winter, or when they're on top of a mountain, makes them feel by the sea. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. That's the whole point of a perfume, is to transport you and to uplift you.
And what was it like then for you to see Inish become such an international success?
It's a matter of enormous pleasure and pride to see it achieving what it has achieved. At the time, the very small team that worked on it, between people in the company and Arthur and our designer, Adrian, that's what we were aiming for. We were aiming to have something which would be proud and Irish and would stand alongside anything that was produced over the whole world. But I mean, it's fantastic to see how much has been achieved, and I have to say that's not been without a huge amount of effort by many creative and hard-working people, least of all myself, and also all our wonderful customers all around the world, both the shops we deal with and the people who've fallen in love with Inish and keep buying it, without whom we would have nothing.